Hey guys, welcome to another installment of Kuiper's coaching concepts in Kuiper baseball. Today we're going to talk about the cadence and the rhythm of holding runners on, both at first base and second base. Real simple, base runners, they're going to look for tendencies. Hitters look for tendencies, pitchers look for tendencies. We all look for tendencies so that we can exploit them. And pitchers, by nature, are creatures of habit. And so a lot of times pitchers, we tend to get into our own rhythm if we're not thinking about it, and we eventually fall into habits, and these habits can be exploited by base runners. So what do I mean by some of these tendencies they can exploit? The number one thing that I'd like to call attention to is the amount of time that a pitcher holds on to the baseball before delivering. A lot of times guys fall into a rhythm where they take the sign, they'll come set, 1001, and go. Okay? Happens over and over again. Come set, 1001, and go. And one of the things that you will probably have heard if you've been around baseball or continue to hear it is the UCLA. UCLA was a set of 4 characters used to denote the cadence. So you could say he's a U guy, he's a C guy, an L guy, an A guy, a double U guy. What does that mean? Well, if we just say, instead of saying 1001, 1002, we just start saying the letters U, C, L, A. U, C, L, A. That way we can say, hey, mix it up. Hey, U, he's a U guy, L guy. Okay? That way you could potentially share it. Now, everybody on the other side of the field should know it as well, but in terms of expressing it within our team, that's one of the easiest ways you can do. You can have your own acronym if you want, but I would recommend something. Everybody knows UCLA. It's a very standard practice. So, coming set, U, C, break. U, C, break. Okay? Now that means now I've got a tendency. I'm a C guy. Base runner. Now if you're going to sit there and be a base runner and get ready to go, that guy comes set, U, C, and you can start taking off right before if you can get a good jump, if you know when he's going to pitch. Pitchers, how do you combat this? You need to vary it up. So if you ever hear a coach, me perhaps, yelling from the dugout, UCLA, hey, that's not a play call. It means watch your cadence. You're too predictable. You need to change it up. Okay, so some of the effective things that I recommend is make sure that you're looking at all aspects of the spectrum, the short, the medium, and the long. Okay? One time you might be U, C, L, A, pitch. Okay? Next time it might be U, pitch. Okay? And don't be afraid to mix it up on the half counts. I know it may seem interesting, but if you're only going on U, C, L, A, and no half counts, then yeah, it could start to get a little bit if it's U or a C, U, C, L, and break. All these things, if you continue to mix it up, you're going to put yourself in a good position to succeed. It's really as simple as that. On the flip side, if you're a base runner, you need to start looking for these tendencies. And the last thing I would mention is occasionally I would mix in and make sure to do the extra long holds. One of the things that I like to preach is one of the first times you get base runners on in a game, especially we're talking at the youth level, the high school level, where you guys don't see each other all that often, and you only have a short amount of scouting information to go off. I would recommend starting off with some very long hold times on just like the first 2, 3, 4 pitches. Coaches, we're all over on the sides, we're looking for things, we're looking for tendencies, and if I notice that that guy is 1, 2, 3, 4, and go, 1, 2, 3, go. Maybe do that a couple times and then mix in purposefully a very contrasting, come set, go. Let's go, 1, 2, 3, 4, go. And then I just go right into a U, go. If I show a very contrasting style very early on to an opposing coach, that tells me, well, he doesn't have a tempo, a consistent pattern, so I guess we shouldn't keep looking for it. I know it may seem funny, but if you can just throw them off the scent early on, even if you accidentally fall into a pattern later in that game, then you've kind of thrown them off the scent, let's say. A lot of times what can happen is when the game speeds up and you get into a critical situation in the 6th inning and runner on, he's the tying run on first, your emotions and the speed of the game might increase, and at that point you might fall into your bad habits and maybe you're a U guy every single time. But if you threw them off the game, then they're not necessarily training themselves and preparing themselves to run on that U cadence. But if you showed that U cadence, U, on your first 3 pitches, then they're gonna key in on that and they're gonna exploit that. Happens all the time. So that's the first thing I'd say. I know it's a bit straightforward, I think, but it's a very, very powerful thing from a pitcher's perspective to control. If you want to get to the next level, what you can actually do is, if you want to start looking at setting a guy up, you can purposefully go on a cadence 1 or 2 times in a row, and then pick off that same cadence. I wouldn't employ this against a base stealer per se, but I might do it against a guy where he's an average runner, maybe he's not the fastest, and you think that you can essentially pick him off with one of your better moves, and maybe you know he's not going, but you come set, U, C, pitch, U, C, pitch, and then you can go into a UC pick, U, C, pick, and that way you get him lulled to sleep on that same cadence. That can be another particularly effective way, but again, I wouldn't recommend that on the base stealers because they might be gone before you have a chance to pick them off. All right, well that's going to do it. UCLA with the man on first. The same thing is going to apply to second base, but in terms of UCLA, it is what it is. Vary your cadence. Take the upper hand in that way. All right, thanks guys.